Alright, hello everybody, welcome to Game Fortress. My name's Whit, and I'm going to be showing you a deck tech for Xenagos, the God of Revels. Alright, so Xenagos is an extremely interactive and really fun commander to use, because there's so many possibilities in the way you can play him. You can play him in a kind of like dick fashion, where you play like infect creatures, but that's not how I roll. I like to have fun with commander, so I kind of made a more kind of big creature stompy kind of build here with Xenagos. So I'm going to start with the artifacts, I think. You got your regular artifact suite, your mana dorks. You got your Soul Rings, Felwar Stone, Girl Signet, Dark Seal Ingot, and I like the Vessel of Eternal Rest personally. Add a mana to your mana pool of any color, and when it enters, put a card from a graveyard onto the bottom of its owner's library. So I really like this card because it's really good in order to be able to cycle creatures who your opponents have killed. In terms of other artifacts, you got the Gilded Lotus, which is just a great commander card in general, lets you rent mana pretty quickly. And Batterskull, because it's Batterskull, it's amazing value, and you could double it with Xenagos, gain a lot of life, and really get back in the game if you're behind. And Quicksilver Amulet, because, who doesn't love Quicksilver amuleting like a Craterhoof Behemoth or something, and then getting that insane block and then winning? Because who doesn't like winning? I have two Planeswalkers in the deck currently. I have Xenagos, the Reveler, and Garruk Primal Hunter. I think I'm going to add a Garruk 6 and a Domri, because I think the fight mechanic from Domri and being able to cycle is really important, as well as being able to just search for creatures with Garruk 6. Got a bunch of instants and sorceries here. In terms of 1-drops and things we can do. In terms of searching for creatures, we have the Green Sun Zenith, which is really, really important because you can turn 1 Green Sun for like a Dryad Arbor or something for 0, or later in the game if you draw it, you can search for one of your big guys in terms to just end the game quickly. And you have Worldly Tour just to search for those creatures that you might need at any given moment. There are a lot of utility creatures here, so you can get a lot of those kind of things out of that, a lot of value. And then Savage Summoning, just because it's really nice to be able to cast things with Flash, because this deck does not have a lot of reach in terms of removal and stuff like that, and so your removal can just be, if they attack with like a creature, you can Savage Summoning in your giant dude and then block and kill it. And then Farseek and Harrow just for ramp. Clan Defiance, just for that bit of removal that we need. And then these two cards, because they really just add that kind of over-the-topness to the deck. This one puts a bunch of counters on them, and then the Relentless Assault allows you to untap all your creatures after they've attacked, and have another attack step in which there is another trigger Xenagos that you get to put on the stack. In which you get to put on the stack. So yeah, that's Increasing Savagery and Relentless Assault, both of which are amazing cards. And if you flash back the Relentless Savagery, you put 10 counters instead of 5. So it's like, you can flash back it, put 10 counters in your guys, Xenagos trigger him to like a 20-20, Relentless Assault next to make him a 40-40, and then get another attack. So that's pretty decent. I'm rolling with 3 enchantments in this deck. Impromptu Raid and Killer Instinct basically do the same thing. Killer Instinct is just every turn you get a dude, and then sacrifice it at your end step. Impromptu Raid is you can pay 3 mana for the same effect. But you can do that as many times as you want during your turn. So these cards are both really good for just powering out lots of creatures to go for that, game-ending turn. And then Primeval Bounty is amazing, because if you can cast Primeval Bounty on like 4 or 5, or maybe, even turn 6 on curve, it's really good. But then after that, you're just getting value for all of your creatures, especially if you're casting a bunch of these non-creature spells. You're really getting value, especially with Xenagos on the battlefield. And before we go into creatures, I'm just going to do non-basic lands really fast. I have the suite of cycling lands, just because I feel like this deck needs more card draw. So we have Tranquil Thicket, Slippery Karst, and Smoldering Crater, which are just the cycle lands in these colors. And then in terms of non-basic dual lands that we're running Rootbend Crags, Temple of Abandoned, Stomping Ground, Gruul Guild Gate, and That's the duels that we're running. And then Command Tower, Reflecting Pool, and Evolving Wilds for the rest of the colors that we need. An Oran Reef and Treetop Village for our kind of just utility, good stuff kind of lands that we have. Treetop Village is really good at early game damage, and Oran Reef is really good at making creatures better with Xenagos, and the rest are just, regular basic lands. Because this deck being only 2 colors and all the creatures don't really have that strict mana requirements, you can kind of run a lot of basics. And now we get to the good stuff. We have a lot of creatures. So we're going to start from the top of the curve with the more interesting creatures and then go to the bottom with the less interesting, kind of just mana dorks. So we have 3 8-drops in the deck. Craterhoof Behemoth, Scar Goliath, and Archetype of Endurance. The Archetype is amazing. There's nothing bad about this card. You could even get it in on like a turn 4 or 5 with a Quicksilver Amulet or something like that. And once you get it, your creatures are insanely hard to remove, and it gives your green-red deck the ability to basically turn into a blue deck because there's no interaction. Craterhoof Behemoth for obvious reasons. If you get a bunch of little dudes, Craterhoof Behemoth and then Xenagos, and you win, basically. And Scar Goliath, just because he's a 9/9 dude, he can give your guy who's already been Xenagos triggered trample, which is a really big thing, because a lot of the creatures in this deck, most already have trample, but there are a lot that need trample to be able to go over the top and actually kill the opponent. Because that's Xenagos' weak spot. If you double a guy and give him haste, but doesn't have trample, then they can just chump block with like a token, and then you wasted that turn. So if you can give him trample with that guy, it's really, really, really good. Now we have a whole slew of 7-drops. Palaka Worm for value. Fury Honeycite because 12/12 flyers are pretty good. Atarka World Render is MVP in this deck. If you can get him out and then Xenagos trigger him, suddenly you have a 12/8 double strike flying haste. Trample is a keyword there also. So yeah, this card is really good. Alright, then we have the little combo that I like here, which is Foe Razor Regent and Gruul Rage Beast. So basically, if you have a Gruul Rage Beast says whenever Gruul Rage Beast or another creature you control enters the battlefield, it fights something they control. And Foe Razor Regent is when it enters, it fights, and then whenever something you control fights, it gets 2 counters at the next end step. So if you have this guy out and then you cast this guy, first of all he fights twice and gets 4 counters, and then whenever anything fights, which is whenever anything enters the battlefield, they get 2 more counters. So these two are really, really, really well together. Then we have the Elder Scale Worm, just so you don't die, and you have a 7/7 trample. And it's really hard to kill you if you get Sky out, especially if you have the Archetype. And then Mosh Bridge Troll is probably my favorite card in this whole deck. It's a 5/5 for 7. If it would be destroyed, regenerate it. So that by itself would be worthy of this deck. This is already amazing. But then you can tap any number of creatures, other creatures you control, other than Moss Bridge Troll, with a total power of 10 or greater, and he gets +20/+20 until the end of turn. So automatically with Xenagos, if you tap those guys equal to 10, he becomes a 50/25 haste. If he would be destroyed, regenerate. And then if you say Scar Goliath him, he's a 59/25 trample haste. If he would be destroyed, regenerate him. So yeah, it's not a bad card. And now the 6s. Roguethar the Unbowed, because, fuck control decks and decks that play not creatures. Yeah, and then just a shit ton more 6s. Temur War Shaman for value. Hydra Omnivore if you want to end the game early. Wormcoil Engine for value. Inferno Titan to kill pesky planeswalkers. Primordial Sage to draw cards in green-red. And Hydra Broodmaster to give you a ton of dudes to be able to feed to Xenagos and win. 5s, Mitotic Slime for value. Urabrask for value. Thundermaw, just because he's Thundermaw and you can kill things. Arbor Colossus for that reach that is really, 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 really needed in this deck. You don't got a lot of flyers, so it's pretty good. And then Thragtusk and Silverheart for being able to pump your guys and make Xenagos better. Then all of our 4s are all pretty essential to the deck, I'd say. You know, Huntmaster, or Ogre Battle Driver, and Hell Rider are just cards that give you tons of value and tons of damage. So those guys are really essential. I play Polis Crusher in the deck because I hate enchantments that other people have, and killing them is pretty good. And he has Trample, which is automatically really good with Xenagos. Solemn because it's commander and you kind of need a Solemn. Vengevine, just because getting a lot of creatures out really fast and being able to generate this kind of big creature engine is really good. Deva for the flash, Rebel Belt to pump dudes, Huntmaster for the value, and Perforos because being able to pump your whole team and then Xenagos Trigger is really good. And then once we get into these lower things, it's just a lot of value cards like Eternal Witness and Shaman of the Forgotten Ways are just kind of mana dorks to get your things back. And then got our 2 Hydras, Genesis Hydra, Savageborn Hydra. Anything with Double Strike is automatically amazing with Xenagos, so this card's really, really, really good. And then Genesis Hydra to be able to get our big dudes out. And then just a lot of kind of utility, you know. We got your Land of War Elves, Birds of Paradise, Burning Tree Emissaries, Dryad Arbors, and then our 1-drop creatures, you know, Goblin Guide, Curd Ape for just value and damage in the early game, and Jeering Instigator to be able to take control of your opponent's things and then swing for that game-ending attack. Alright, thank you everyone. This is Game Fortress. I'm Whit. Have a good day.